Greetings. Welcome to Trinity Place in Geneva, New York. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a reflection on the Gospel for the first Sunday in Advent. But I want to begin with something from the Four Quartets by T.S. Eliot, Burnt Norton, number 1 in particular. Time past and time future, what might have been and what has been, point to one end, which is always present. Time past and time future. In the subway below London, as the 10-ton bombs of World War II crushed stones that had stood for 9 centuries, and as warning sirens screeched and screamed and family heirlooms disintegrated, along with entire households of hopes and memories, the American Anglophile poet T.S. Eliot wrote to himself and to us, "I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope, for hope would be hope for the wrong thing. Wait without love, for love would be love of the wrong thing. There is yet faith, but the faith and the hope and the love are all in the waiting. So the darkness shall be the light, and the stillness the dancing." To wait without hope may be more than some of us can stand. To wait without love may seem like advice from the dark side. To Americans, the suggestion that we wait or that we do without something may seem a scandal. But this countercultural wisdom has traveled light years to be glimpsed by us and remembered again. It is a stranger, deeper, nearer, truer hope than the one offered in the shallow waters of economic thrills, of digital illusions, of nationalistic clamor. When we are threatened by wars and rumors of war, there's a place we can stand. When we're surrounded by the kinetic energy of consumerism building like a tidal wave and heading our way, there is a place to stand. When the external voices of greed and anger and hatred bark in a cacophony of chaos seeking to confuse us, there is a place to stand. When the real but distant dangers of things we cannot control are made to seem hyper-present and menacing, there is a place to stand. When illness has placed its cold fingers around our arms and dragged us into an unknown future, there is a place to stand. When unexpected events have made our jobs seem fragile, our relationships vulnerable, prosperity seem beyond our reach, there is a place to stand. This place that we are invited into, this point that we can stand on, is a moment without hope, without love, without knowledge, without control, without splendor, without a name. It is the place T.S. Eliot describes as the still point of the turning world. It is a place we need to know about when the world is in chaos and we no longer know what is true or hopeful or lovely. When life and events have spun us off balance and competing voices yell at us for allegiance, yet hold no note of credibility, it is a place we know about so that we can stop and listen and hear. At the still point of the turning world, Eliot writes, there is only dance. This point, this still point, really exists. It's an actual place, not virtual. The still point is the place where the dancer spins on her toes. The still point is the place where the dancer achieves seemingly motionless balance at the very moment of tremendous rush and spin. The dancer, spinning vigorously, maintains balance and clarity of mind by focusing her eye and focusing her mind at a single point on the horizon and keeping it there. Let go of that focus and the balance is in danger. Let go of the focus and the dizziness is sure. Let go of that focus and the discourse or the dis-ease of our stomachs and the throat will deteriorate the dancer's balance from within. When the dancer spins, she becomes a top of flesh and bones, balancing perfectly on her toes. And in that moment it is made possible by a fixed point outside the perimeter of the spin that is held on to fiercely. The still point of the turning world is found when we choose our focus and we keep it there, even though everything else seems to be spinning in violent energy and calling at us and to look up and down or away. The still point of the turning world is the place that we can stand and find our balance no matter what's going on all around us. Now, this is not a metaphor or therapeutic strategy or a mental trick meant to calm us down in moments of stress. It is a truth of spiritual wellness that can bring us balance and peace, even in the midst of chaos. If we're willing to wait without hope as we spin. Why? Because we are so inevitably centered in our own self-absorbed motion that we only know to hope for what we want. We only hope for what we think is good for us. We only hope for what we think is possible. We only hope for what we are able to imagine. But God is the author of true hope, and hope is revealed at its own time in its own way. As it is with hope, it is with love. We are so enamored with our own desires that we love most and love best that which loves us back. We only love that which we hope to have, only love that which is beautiful in our sight, only love that which meets our needs and strokes our desires. But God is the author of true love, and to love that which is holy is the gift of the Spirit, not of our own making or evoked by our own desiring. At the still point of the turning world, hope and love are suspended. Suspended until our balance is returned and we can see clearly again. It is the willingness to trust in this suspension that returns us to balance. At the still point of the turning world, hope and love are suspended until we end our centripetal motion, stand still, breathe deeply, and in a moment of wisdom that is greater than us, see. Surely we have had such moments somewhere along the way, all of us, you and I. Often we're brought to those moments by crisis. For those who have ever been engulfed by grief, mummified alive by the pain surrounding death, you may recall that first moment of daylight when you suddenly realized you'd forgotten to be sad. Even though the grief will return, at that moment there was a crack that appeared and that hinted about relief in the days to come. For those who have known the torture of mental illness, there may have come a moment when the control you thought you had lost forever returned, slightly at first, but then more and more and more. At that first moment, you could look backward and you could look forward and you could see clearly that for the first time perhaps in a long while, and know that restoration was possible. For those who have known the threat of death, a chronic disease that ebbs and flows, you may have known a moment at which you made peace with the presence of a disease in your body, not surrendering to it, but greeting it with the acknowledgement that staked your claim on the future. For those who have known the confinement of addiction, you may have stood in a moment of recovery, a moment when all motion came to a standstill, teetering on a single choice. That choice didn't suddenly make everything better, but you stepped outside of that black hole and felt the light. At all such moments, it is too early to hope or to love, because to hope and to love would inevitably be for the wrong thing. It would be the hope to have our own love fulfilled or protected. It would be the hope for a cure while missing the chance for healing. It would be the love of life so fierce that it does not hold and receive the treasure of knowing our own mortality. It would be the quixotic love of self that imagines recovery is only about the absence of pain. When we have been taken up in the chaos of loud and competing loyalties, hawking multiple desires and needs, we often end up loving the wrong things and hoping for the wrong things. It is then that we need to find the still point of the turning world. The dancer's gift, the spiritual practice we need for ourselves, is to place our focus on a single point when the world is spinning and we no longer feel centered in our own lives. All of this is why the Christian calendar creates seasons in which to reach for the still point. Advent before the explosion of Christmas, and Lent before the rush of Easter and the scatter of summer release. Advent and Lent are exercises. They're spiritual practices. Used for this purpose, they strengthen our abilities to focus on a single point and return to balance, and so reconnect with the center of our lives. Is our focus on the golden ring, the winning the lottery, perhaps? Is our focus on achievements with public recognition and the acclaim of others? Is our focus having all the right stuff? Is it on looking good and giving the appearance of happiness? Is our focus on the next big thing? Is it making someone love us or love us the way we want to be loved? Is it changing the world the way we think it ought to be changed? Is it fixing someone, making them better, saving them somehow? If the substance of our focus is on those things, we will spin wildly out of balance, because none of them can withstand the centripetal force of self-orbit. None of them offer balance. At the still point of the turning world, where the sweet spot of peace is known, it is very clear which focus has delivered us there. When the turning world has begun to make our lives wobble, our relationships teeter, our sense of self so external that we reach outside of ourselves to catch our balance, it is time to seek the holy, to look for the ordinary sacred that is near us, present to us. Does the pandemic have us anxious and out of sorts? Do the activities of the post-election enrage us to the point of distraction? Are we perpetually glum or strangely detached in the fog of social distancing? Have the limitations of this past year stomped on our hopes and our desires? Are we scratching to get out of a place that we're not really trapped? Then our focus is on the wrong thing. These are all natural sensations, of course, given the situation that we're all in. But it is not inevitable that they would knock us off balance or even knock us to the ground. We need to find a different focus, different than whatever has led us to feeling these ways, to possessing our spirit in this way, to leaning our lives away from our better selves, our spiritual center. The dancer keeps her balance by concentrating on a focus beyond the still point of her turning world. And that's what Advent is meant to do. This is the time in which to regain our balance by refocusing our attention on the ordinary presence of God in our midst. It is the ordinary presence of the sacred amidst our routine lives, so much a part of the warp and weft of who we are and what we do, it goes unnoticed beneath our chin. The still point awaits us. It is where we dance. Thank you for sharing this moment. May it bring you some small growth, healing, maybe even a little wellness. And as always, the peace of the Lord be with you.